And from as earliest as I can remember, my dad always had on his elbows, on his knees, on his back, on his head, he always had psoriasis. But then one day I'm on the back porch talking with him, and he's so excited. He shows me his knees and his elbows, and there's nothing, there's no psoriasis.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another amazing day here with a special guest, Amber Hopkins. Welcome, Amber. I'm happy that you're here. Amber and I are so excited to share some more new discoveries to our life, right, Amber?
Yes, definitely some discoveries that we had no idea needed to be discovered.
Yeah, so let's start with a little bit of your story. I mean, this sparked me. We're going to talk about some of our carnivore stories and journeys, but it was your father who completely have healed of something. So, and that got our attention. So take it off from here.
Well, I'm the oldest of seven, and I'm 56 years old. And from as earliest as I can remember, my dad always had on his elbows, on his knees, on his back, on his head, he always had psoriasis. And I remember my friends would come over and they'd walk into his bedroom, and there'd be this huge chamber that went from the ceiling to the floor that was an octagon shape, and they would always want to open it with curiosity to see what was in there. And I just have memories from as early as I can remember my dad standing in there at night trying to get rid of his psoriasis. And there was creams, injections I watched, and 40 years I never saw a change. And then my dad heard about Jordan Peterson's daughter doing this carnivore diet to cure herself of rheumatoid arthritis. My dad posted it. I didn't pay that much attention to it. My dad posts a lot of things. But then one day I'm on the back porch talking with him, and he's so excited. And he shows me his knees and his elbows. And there's nothing, there's no psoriasis. There's nothing red, there's nothing white. It just looked like normal skin. Well, his worst part was on his spine.
Mm.
And he literally turned around and pulled up his shirt, and he was so excited, I got to show you this. And my dad has a scar on his back from an injury when he was a little boy, and I'd never been able to see it because it was covered. And there it was. Nothing, just beautiful skin. And so I thought, I need to know about this. I need to understand what on earth, how this could be. My father is eating protein and meat. He's telling me about his steaks and his shrimp and his fish and his chicken. And all my life it was eat all the colors of the garden. The roots below the ground, the ones above the ground, mix them, match them, a little bit of meat and a lot of vegetables, right? A lot of fruit.
Mm.
And but I noticed that I always felt tired after what I thought would be something healthy, Judy. And I'm just going to cut straight to it. I'm just
Sure.
going to say I have one of my biggest challenges since having six kids has been maintaining the weight that I want to be. I have tried everything except Weight Watchers because I don't want to do numbers. I don't want to do math, but I have done everything from HCG to even diets that I don't want to mention, right? Just ones that
Sure.
people would say that's not very healthy. Atkins was the only one I had success on, but I didn't do it right. There's a right way to do Atkins. And so I decided to try this. I decided, especially after talking to you and hearing about the pain in your arm that had gone away, a surgery that wasn't going to be, that had got canceled, that you were going to schedule.
Mhm.
And so I decided, okay, I'm just going to give it, I'm just going to try. We'll see what happens. Because my biggest challenge, and I know, and a normal day, I will talk to 15 people. That's an average day for me. And in talking to the women that I mentor and some of the moms and families I associate with, the women's biggest challenge is that why can't I stick to what I choose to do? I'll wake up in the morning and I'll make a plan. I'm going to eat this way. I'm not going to eat sugar. I'm not going to have this diet soda. I'm not going to drink an energy drink. I'm going to incorporate this much goodness. And then by lunch, it's already been broken.
Mhm.
Or you start a diet for a week, you can't finish it. So I decided to, give this a try. And that's the first thing I noticed. I
Mhm.
woke up, I had bacon and eggs, and I didn't think about food for 4.5 hours. And that is not normal for me.
Mhm.
That was very surprising. It caught me off guard. And the best part was I didn't lose my energy. Normally, I would wake up, I'd grab my blender, I'd throw in a bunch of spinach and blueberries and organic protein powder and some nuts and maybe a little bit of honey, and spinach and whatnot, blend it all up. And oh my gosh, I felt like I was drinking the most alive thing. And half an hour later, I was tired. And I thought, this isn't possible. I just nourished and energized my body. And then I would be hungry literally within an hour, and I was craving something sweet. I was craving simple carbohydrates and a piece of toast, cold cereal with milk, and my weight just up, down all the time. I got up to 206 pounds, and I just was so unhappy. My bones hurt, my joints hurt, my sex drive went down. My hair wasn't as beautiful as it had been. My skin didn't look as good. Just a week, Judy, just a week of doing this carnivore diet, the changes were drastic. My energy stayed up. I did not get tired, even after a steak and shrimp covered in butter. I had dopamine hits while I was eating it. My body felt good, my tongue, everything was happy, and my energy stayed the entire time. And I did not feel or think about food for at least 4 hours. That's never happened in my life. I wasn't reaching for a snack. I wasn't thinking about, taking this sweet thing. I love yasso bars. Those are my favorite. And if I ever needed something, I'd grab that yogurt bar. But here's the biggest one.
Okay.
That I love anyone to understand. I know many, and I am an emotional eater. If something triggers me, because our brain always wants to protect us, right? If something triggers me, my brain says, oh, Amber's not happy. We got to make Amber happy. We're going to go give her something sweet. And I will reach for something sweet. I will reach for something chocolatey or sugary. And then the little dopamine comes in. And for a temporary moment, I feel better. But it's temporary. My problem hasn't gone away. I didn't feel like I was in control anymore. And I was left feeling almost as bad as when I started, because I put something in my body. I know for Amber, white sugar is very inflammatory in my body, and so is white flour. I have learned that over the years. I wake up puffy, my eyelids hang. Nobody wants to look older in their 50s. And so many times in the first month of doing this, I was triggered. I was triggered by things that just naturally occur to us, your husband, your children, life. And I would feel that pattern that had been created of, we're going to go to the freezer and I'm going to open up a yasso bar and I'm going to eat this chocolate chip cookie dough yogurt bar. And I'd walk to the fridge, I'd open it up, and I'd just shut it. And I'd walk away going, what is this superhuman power? This is the discipline I've been looking for in every program I tried. Paying money for Jenny Craig, those HCG shots, as people know, are very expensive. Semaglutide was very expensive. This has been the most inexpensive menu I've put together, the most satisfying, and I sleep better. I wake up and my brain just starts. It's not groggy. There's some days if I've had a harder day, which is normal life, but it is a complete game changer. And I'm still figuring out why. Because as you and I've talked about, it's contrary to so many of the things you and I've talked about for 30 years.
Yes. Yes. Totally. And this is a good example of knowing you for that long and teaching about how to make these great plant-based shakes and all the stuff to put into it. And the same thing, Amber, but knowing something was still missing. Okay. And it truly is when you first start into carnivore, especially that path of eating, to understand, oh my gosh, this is healing so fast. How come this is happening? And I've done all these other things for the past 10 years, and it would take a long time to get to a certain point. And it just doesn't right now. You shared something, I'm really glad you're pointing this out about the sugar, okay? You said once a year, your mother makes homemade ice cream.
If we're lucky. If if we're lucky. My son came home after being in Idaho for over a year, and she said, Nick, what do you want? And he said, I want grandma's homemade ice cream. It had been longer than that since we'd had it. And we all went over to her house. My niece and nephew were visiting from North Carolina. They come out every summer. That's it. That's when we get to see them. They have two littles. And my mom made her homemade vanilla ice cream and didn't touch it. Didn't even feel like I was missing out.
Mm.
That has never happened. Like it almost is emotional because
Yeah.
as I shared with you earlier, some of the issues with not being in the size body I want isn't just that I'm not happy in a healthy body, it's that it reflects that there's a lack of control. And it took me a long time to realize why there was so much heavy emotion and depression around it. And I realized it's because if somebody had a pornography problem, I'd never know, but you can look at me and go, she has a problem with food. She can't control what she puts in her mouth, or she's not moving enough. Now, there's a lot of variables why our bodies look the size that they do. I absolutely acknowledge that. But for me personally, which is the only one I can navigate, mine represented a lack of control, a lack of discipline, setting a goal and failing, and setting a goal and failing, and setting a goal and failing, and being a victim to sugar as if it was heroin. It would control my life. I would wake up and say, I'm not going to eat that. I don't want to wake up sore. I don't want to wake up inflamed. And then something would happen. I'd go straight to it. And that changed, especially being able to say no to that ice cream. I didn't even
That's really huge.
store.
And I know for me, it's been a real connection between the sweet, the sugar, looking at what sweetness am I missing in my life, you know, and to be able to give ourselves that level of sweetness and compassion and love and kindness is just so healing. It opens up to me more creativity, more energy. And I really, really thank you for jumping in on doing this with me today because you and I, we're so excited about all that's opening up in our life because we've been willing to be open to consider this way of eating that I truly feel it's been very inspirational for me. And we'll just leave a little tickler at the end because you and I have a great, great video coming up on a subject I think you and I both are excited to be able to talk about at this point.
And excited is a great pun to lead into it because one of the biggest blessings, and I will say that it's a
Yes.
blessing, one of the biggest results has been an increase in libido for both my husband and I. And in our 50s, that uptake, that excitement that the body's functioning better, looking at each other and making eyes, and knowing that we're having this emotional foreplay before we go to bed. My husband and I have been married for 33 years, and I get asked all the time, well, isn't sex boring after that? It's never been boring, but it's picked up at a pace and at a desire, at a passion that was just not there before because our bodies are balanced, our hormones are balancing. We could not have that balance in all the inflammation from the food we were eating. And I'll tell you right now, if that's not a reason to try this diet, I don't know what is, because who doesn't want a better sex life? Come on, let's just be honest.
Oh, Amber, I love it. I love your enthusiasm and your zest for life. And there is a significant change and glow in your skin in just even a month. It's just fantastic. Thank you for joining me today. And I know our listeners are going to just really love this information. And I look forward to our next video, which is
the next one's going to be hot, so don't miss it. It's going to
it
be
is.
hot.
Yeah, we are going to talk about libido, right? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Take
Thank
care.
you for having me, Jean.